sheriff had a big showing up at the parade.
And at the gun show.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Finance and Safety Committee meeting, the Watertown City Council, Monday, March 19, 2018. And the first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion and second to approve?
Second.
Moved by Thorson, second by Vilhauer. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Second item on the agenda is approval of minutes from the February 5th, 2018 meeting. Is there a motion and second? Moved by Roby, second by Thorson. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. The third item on the agenda is the Watertown Police Department 2017 annual report. Not given by Mike Berger. Looks like we have Police Chief Lee
Jeez, felt like I was
McPeak
getting pushed out.
and Officer Tim Toomey.
All right, thanks for having us here this evening. Originally, this was going to be presented 2 weeks past during the snow event, and Tim was going to present it because I was out of town, so I said, you might as well go ahead and present it. I'll be there. If they have questions, we'll both take them. So I'm going to turn it over to Tim to show you this little PowerPoint he put together, just kind of a review of our 2017 stats. We have released it all to the news media, a month or so back, and we've also got it on our website. So if anybody wants to see the full report that isn't here tonight, they can just go to our website and take a look. Thanks.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council. Thank you for having us. This is our chance to kind of brag about our year. It was definitely a busy year at the police department. So I just threw together this Prezi. It's a Prezi, so it's a little different than a PowerPoint. But I'm going to cruise through this really quick. I know you guys have a very full agenda, so I'll cruise through this and then answer any questions that you guys might have. So if you watch the screen, watch this. Come on into the police department and see what our stats are like. Whoa.
Don't get dizzy on us.
All right, so our 2017 annual report, I just wanted to make sure that you guys read our mission statement, and we'd like to declare that mission accomplished for this year. We definitely are providing a safe place to visit, live, work, and raise a family. So all is well in Watertown. A few of the highlights. We had 22,316 calls. That's Watertown only. It's about a 2% increase from last year. It's right about the average of our 5-year average. So let's take a quick look at those records. This is from the 911 center. And now I can't zoom in. I thought I'd be able to zoom in. But as you can see, we score well above, well, not well above, but above the national average on all our EMD calls, which is, we're pretty proud of that. Our dispatchers are working really, really hard. That bottom number, you can see they've answered 44,691 calls for service. And those are calls that are just creating a report. So we estimate that they probably take about 70,000 calls per year in the 911 center. The folks are working really, really hard, and they're pretty proud of the work they do, and we're kind of a beacon of excellence across the state, even to the point where Rapid City is, we're one of their backup 911 centers for Rapid City. So we're pretty proud of that. Calls for service, like I said, we're right about the 5-year average. One of our prouder accomplishments is first time since 1973 that we are below 700 accidents. We've been working really, really hard on accident reduction. We formed a traffic safety team. We've been getting highway safety grants to reduce the speeds in Watertown. It was a really, really good year, and first time since 1973. There's weather conditions and other conditions that can be attributed to that, but our patrol staff have been working really, really hard, and we got that number down, so we're pretty proud of that. If you have any questions as I go, please feel free to stop me. Going back. That's what happens when you play with technology. It inevitably messes up. Close your eyes if you get dizzy. Okay, now we're back on track. Speeding citations, we're down from 2016. That doesn't mean we are working less. As you can see by our next slide, our warning citations are up quite a bit. So we're up 42% in warning citations. So our guys are actively making those traffic stops, asking the public to slow down and make our roadways safer. We really commend them for using that discretion when it comes to speeding. You know, issuing a citation isn't always the answer, and, you know, warnings go a long way too. So we have a pretty good ratio there. This is where it gets a little daunting. We were really, really busy this year. Our adult arrests were up 18%. It's up 16% from the 5-year average, and we just see that continually climbing. Drugs is always has been a really big dilemma for not only us, but South Dakota and the nation. The drug epidemic is getting worse. The meth epidemic in South Dakota is getting worse. We saw a 33% increase in controlled substance arrests. That's a huge jump, and I'll just go into that a little deeper. You can see at the bottom here, at the bottom of this screen, I don't know why I can't zoom in, but we had a total of 800 drug arrests in 2017. Because of that number, we've done a lot of proactive stuff. We've met with all the stakeholders, including DCI, anybody that's involved in the investigation of narcotics, and we're trying different strategies. We keep doing things the same way and not getting any results. So we're going to shake things up a little bit and start using different investigative strategies and different techniques to reduce that number. There's a lot of work to do. Our narcotics detective is one of the busiest guys in the department, and we need about 10 more of them to get ahead of this thing. It's really a problem, but we're getting ahead of it. The underage consumption, 18 to 21-year-olds, that is another alarming statistic. We started seeing that tick up in our monthly reports. We got on top of that pretty early. We formed a coalition, an underage drinking coalition. On that coalition is Lake Area Tech, the school district, HSA, Department of Corrections, the judges, a whole bunch of different stakeholders that are all working together for prevention strategies. One of those is the billboard. I'm sure you've probably seen the billboard message that's out there, but we're working on a whole bunch of different strategies. Lake Area Tech has really partnered up with us. They're taking a leadership role in this and educating that age group on the dangers of underage drinking. You know, we just don't need another tragedy like we had last year. So it went up quite a bit, 22% from 2016 and 40% over 5-year average. That's the canary in the mine. That's telling you there's a problem that needs to be addressed, and we need to address it before bad things start to happen. So we're aware of that. We're working together with our partners, and I think next year we'll be able to have some better news for you on that front. Here's just a graph to show you the increase over the last few years. In 2006, we had 190 drug arrests. We're up to 800 drug arrests in 2017. 800 drug arrests. That's an incredible amount. Just the time it takes to investigate these cases, it's an overwhelming problem. This is a graph of a controlled substance. That's methamphetamine.
Tim, sorry to cut you off, but I mean, is it truly that much of an increase in the prevalence of drugs, or is it just stronger enforcement on your part, or a combination, or?
Yeah, it's definitely a combination of it. We're definitely enforcing it harder because we know it's a problem, and with that comes more arrests, but it's definitely prevalent across the whole state, across the whole nation. So that's not a Watertown problem. Controlled substance, you can see, I think that's my math. I didn't figure out the percentage, but it looks like about a 40% increase, I would say, 109 to 152 controlled substance arrests, and that is mainly methamphetamines. And here's the underage consumption. You can see that this is was alarming. This number is starting to tick up. So we had 308 underage drinking arrests. I think we're still ticking way up on that. In the last 2 months, I just got the stats and I can't remember, but it's up there. It's like 54 already for this for the last 2 months from January and February. So we have a lot of work to do on the underage drinking thing. It's definitely preventable. We want to teach responsible drinking as well as, what's legal. All right, adult arrests, just some more figures that we wanted to point out. Our assaults are up slightly, and you can see these parallel with drugs and alcohol with these types of crimes. But they're up slightly, nothing too alarming, but we have responded to many more family disturbances and assaults. I already went through that slide. Good news, juvenile arrests under 18 are on their way down. We're doing really, really well, 7% from the 5-year average. You can see underage drinking amongst the under 18 has done really well. Back in 2006, we had 146, and this year we're down to, it was about 34 or 36 by the end of the year. So the prevention efforts are working. So we're trying to take some of those strategies that they use in high school and different prevention techniques and raise that up to the college level, or that age group at least. So just going to cruise through these. I handed out a packet to everybody, so feel free to review those, and if you have any questions, contact us. We did have 6 controlled substance for children, 18 under 18. That's alarming, especially when we're talking methamphetamine. That we have 6 arrests in that area. I don't know for a fact that they're all methamphetamine. They could be, prescription pills as well. Our animals control is really, really, really busy. I wanted to zoom in here, but for some reason I can't. I came here earlier and tried it, and it worked. But you can see at the bottom here, if you have it in front of you, these are all the animal control type calls that all personnel, including Humane Society, our animal control officer, and our patrol officers have responded to. Dog bites continue to be an issue. 64 total dog bites. Dog at large is also another problem. We've been doing really, really well with our training and being fiscally responsible during that training and using a lot of talent that we have within the state and within our own agency. One good litmus test, I guess, of the department is turnover. And in 2017, we actually had nobody leave our department, which is an incredible statistic. Because since I've been here, we've had, what's the average, Chief?
3.
3 per year leave. So I believe it shows the morale and the willingness to work hard at our department. So I'm pretty proud of that. But training amongst the whole department, we stay right up to date with all the current training and current trends. So we're doing well. Internal affairs, as you remember, we answered about 22,300 calls. We had 8 complaints, formal complaints made out of those 22,000 calls, and only 4 of them sustained a policy violation. No criminal allegations, very minor policy violations. So that number alone speaks volumes for the ethical soundness of our department. And just some other quick ones. Our school resource officers are working hard. It's incredible the work they do. We've had a lot of questions about school safety and those types of things. I'm here to tell you that our schools are very, very safe. They do a tremendous job with, if you see something, say something. The rapport that our SROs have with our kids is amazing. They feel comfortable coming in and talking to our officers, and things get reported at an early stage, and they get dealt with at an early stage. So Watertown has safe schools. If you're interested in your district, it breaks it up into district on how many calls for service we had in each one of your districts. So if you have any questions for that, feel free to contact us. The record unit are working really, really hard. They coded 14,239 calls for service. It's incredible. Well, there you go. I kind of sped through that because of your busy schedule. So feel free to ask any questions.
Anyone have any questions? Glenn?
I guess I've got one question for you guys. I don't want to put you on the spot, but for a town or a city like Watertown, I mean, is there something glaring that we're missing? I mean, if you had a wish list, I mean, is there something that you'd love to have that you don't? Any comments to that, guys?
I'm going to speak out, and we need more officers bad.
And that's the biggest thing. Technology-wise, we're pretty up with all the other departments in the state of South Dakota. It's just we're a little lacking on officers. So this year we'll probably put together a package and bring it before you at budget time and look for a couple officers. But we understand that the cities have numbers to work with, and if we can't do that, we can't do it. But we're going to bring it before you and put the numbers out there so you can see where we're at. But anytime you can put more officers behind an epidemic like drugs, it's going to have a positive impact.
We're pretty proud of the technology that we have. We just recently finished up the installation of some new cameras in our cars that work right along with our body cameras. So, transparency is important to us, and these cameras are paying off tenfold.
Great. Other questions or comments?
was
Thank you
easy.
very much.
Well, thank
Appreciate
you all
your
for your
report.
support.
The next item on the agenda is contingency transfer, resolution number 18-05. Kristen?
Thank you. Attached to the agenda is the resolution 1805 for a contingency transfer. There are two departments that came forward who have a couple pieces of equipment that were not budgeted for and are in need of being replaced. So the way that we do that is that's what the contingency account is for. It's for our unbudgeted items that are needed, and that's up to the council to decide if they want to take the contingency account budget authority and give it to those departments that need it. So at this time, I don't want to speak for the departments for the need of it, just that I know that both of them had equipment. The one cannot be repaired, thus it needs to be replaced, and the other one needs to be repaired, but the cost is very high. So I think I'll have Shane if he wants to speak for the engineering, and then I have Jay and Terry can talk about the mower.
Thank you, Kristen. The engineering piece of equipment is our total station, which we use extensively in surveying and places that our GPS equipment can't reach. We use that exclusively. And that piece of equipment is past its replacement cycle within our system. So we've been nursing it along, trying to delay having to replace it. But what happened was in October when we went to use it, it quit functioning. So we sent it out to be fixed, and subsequently found out that it couldn't be repaired. So we're looking at either having to borrow pieces of equipment from other departments or something, or replacing it at the cost of $5,500. And this is in our 5-year capital plan, so if we bought it now, it just falls out of that plan as we go forward. So any questions?
Nope.
As far as the $72,000 request for the golf course mower, I may need Todd to come up and speak to the condition of it. But this is a mower purchased in 2013, a wide area mower. We have 166 acres, one wide area mower. This mower has a history with our department. It's actually the second mower. It was under warranty and replaced. They brought back another one to no avail. It did not quite meet specs on the original purchase, but we still went with this mower. And what happens is the hydraulic system is just it does not perform. It's got one hydraulic motor that pumps hydraulics to 8. It's undersized. We keep burning up the motors. What happens, we replace them. We replace one, then replace another. What happens is the newer one spins, I'm going to use these terms, 1,000 RPMs, and the bad mower turns at 200, so your cut is completely different. Todd and I have discussed between warranty work and city dollars, we're figuring we've got about $20,000 already into this mower. We were pursuing the lemon law on it when Attorney Fox was here. About that time, he departed the city as employment. After that, it went out of warranty work, and we have battled this mower ever since with multiple. I mean, we're in the tens of thousands of dollars repair. Towards the end of the last fall, it basically completely was non-functional. To get it to the point of functionality, we're talking almost $7,000 to $8,000 again, with a piece of equipment that still doesn't perform based on not meeting our specifications on hydraulics. Todd can speak better on the jargon of mowers. Bottom line is it's completely shot. It's not functional. We have 166 acres of rough, and our only backup mower is a 72-inch that we use in tight areas, such as, if you're familiar with the golf course, the yellow course with all the trees. We use our smaller rough, but we are in dire needs to get a new wide area mower. The reason this was not in the budget process in 2017 was we were hoping the vendor would work with us, get the proper replacement parts. They don't make them. It's a lemon. So by August, September, when we were through the budget season, we did budget one in 2019. It's in the budget, which would obviously be pulled. We obviously would not need that next year. But if you, I mean, I've got, not that I'm going to hand it out, but this is the work orders in this mower that we have currently. Between warranty work, city spent dollars, countless hours of our mechanics' time. We definitely have a lemon. We've tried to work with the vendor to no avail. The company wasn't real strong on honoring warranty after the 2-year period, and it was scheduled to be replaced in 19, so we'd like to move it forward. And we do have a contingent plan on finances. I know within the ordinance it's not a contingency, but we are set based on board recommendation through the Park and Rec Board to replace this piece of equipment, and if needed be, take it out of Park and Rec fund balance. And we do have a restricted fund at the golf course that has a balance of $47,000 that we'd be willing to reimburse the contingency fund. So it would be at no cost to the city. But it's imperative to operate the course next year that we get a new piece of equipment. So, questions for myself or Todd?
How old is this mower?
This was purchased in May of 13 delivery, and in July of 13 it went back to the company. And then we've got a replacement one about August of 13. So this will be season 6 coming up.
And how long did you hope that it would last?
We have life expectancies of 8 to 10 years on wide area rotary mowers. And that's from the Parks Department to the golf course. Typically we get 8 to 10.
The vendor working with you on?
No longer, no. I mean, we have an email trail of, I would say, 6 to 8 unreturned emails, dating back to 15.
Councilman Roby?
Did you buy it from a distributor or direct from the manufacturer, and who is the manufacturer?
The manufacturer is Jacobson. The distributor is Turfworks out of Omaha, or not Omaha, Todd? Des Moines, Iowa.
Did the distributor turn you down, or the manufacturer turn you down, or both?
I think it started at the distributor, and then the manufacturer probably turned down the distributor. I mean, it came with a 24-month. We abused that warranty. I would say within the 24-month, it was almost a quarterly. It was in their shop where we had a loaner, and then Attorney Fox was pursuing lemon law and warranty, and that was about the time of his departure. So,
did they, or any chance they would give you a great trade-in on a different brand, or are you just done with these guys?
We haven't used Jacobson for a number of years because they do not meet our specification, and a lot of that's based on our fleet. That we've primarily been Toro. Toro has offered a very generous, the number's not going to sound generous on what these cost, but they have offered us a $3,800 trade-in just as a courtesy. They have no use for it, but...
What was the original cost of the lemon?
The lemon was, we budgeted $52,000, and I believe $46,000 was the bid price on it.
And you got $72,000 in the...
Correct.
So a new one's going to be
$72,000. And actually, it's more than that. That would be the cities or the Park and Recs out of pocket with the $3,800 trade-in. And this is a 12.5-foot mower versus what we have right now is just slightly over 10 foot. And I have it written down. The cost savings on that, based on Todd's estimation, is about 10 hours per week of man-hour. By getting that extra 2.5 hours, we'll save about $2,600 annually, or $26,000 over the life of the mower. These also have what they call flex decks with all the undulation of our rough and different areas. Our current mowers scalp, because of what these do is these float with the ground. And inflationary factor. It's just to get the right piece of equipment, that's the cost we're looking at.
Councilman Vilhauer?
Terry, how definite is that $72,000? Is that already going out for bids, or?
That is what agenda item coming up. That is an NJPA pricing,
Okay.
which is kind of like a state bid, And we, with Toro, they are the only one that meets specification. You know, we've already discussed with John Deere, Jacobson, and Toro is the only one currently that can meet our specification.
Councilman Roby?
Kristen, you add up the 222 left over with what's being requested, so the contingency fund started out at 300. That's what was budgeted, but we haven't tapped into it yet.
Nope, that's correct.
Thank you.
Councilman Wilhour?
And I've got a question for you too, Kristen. Is that 300,000, that's not fund specific? In other words, that's just whatever we
Yes,
budget in its entirety across the city?
that is correct. Yep, it can go to other funds. And all that really does is it just gives, it moves the budget authority. It's established for situations like this where things come up throughout the year that we didn't budget for, and it allows us to then give those departments the authority for that. And I did want to clarify too, I believe that the Park and Rec Board, Terry spoke to the restricted cash at the golf course. I believe they said that they would use 42,000 out of the restricted cash, which would be then the 30,000 would come from the Park and Rec's unreserved fund balance, just to kind of clarify the money.
Other questions?
Well, like I said, the contingency account is not actual cash. It's just authority. So all of the money would actually, for this item, would come out of Park and Rec's fund. The engineering department is in the general fund, so that's general fund unreserved cash balance. But the contingency account is just designed, it actually will go down, and you'll see on the books the contingencies account will go down to the 222 for authority. So at this point for the rest of the year, that's what the council has authority to move around throughout.
Councilman Danforth?
Well, I'd just like to make a couple comments on this item. As a golfer and somebody, I've been involved a fair amount over the last couple of years with Todd and staff and Terry and such out there, and I do know that the quality and the performance of this piece of equipment is not there, and we do get a number of complaints, and it's obvious when you're on the course when this mower has been out there. My second point is that we need to be much more aggressive on this. When we have problems, we have to be way more aggressive with interacting with and pushing our suppliers. And I know that you guys worked hard at it, tried it. There comes a point when we have to take a legal stance, and we should have done this. And I know it was talked about. I personally talked about it with Stanton Fox, with Justin. Todd, you and I have talked it a number of times. We're spending taxpayer dollars here, and then we don't have the wherewithal a lot of times to stand up for what should be our rights. This has been a problem piece of equipment since the day we got it. So we need to be able to do that, and I'm probably looking over here at Matt, But the other thing is, if as a business person, if this is mine, I certainly don't want to spend $72,000. But I will say I don't want to spend $8,000 fixing it and then have to buy a new one next year. That would just be putting good money towards bad. I would think that what we need to do is to move forward with it, and that would certainly be based on my experience and based on what I'm hearing and seeing and having been through with these gentlemen. My recommendation would be that we go forward with that.
I'm assuming this came with a park board recommendation?
Yes, and
as well?
yes, for the transfer of funds in addition to proceed recommendation of the council for approval. And I don't know, Pete, if you can, I mean, this would be the piece of equipment that would be the new style. If you can see each flexible deck is independent of one another. If you remember the old school mowers were just one big piece of steel. And what happens is each one of these decks here will float based on the contour of the land. And it has one independent hydraulic motor that'll give even cut to each one of the blades. So this would be the piece of equipment that's 12-foot 5 cut, so it does save substantial man hours.
Terry, is this or Todd, is this the reciprocating type motor or mower that was I'm not sure that's the right
The
term.
Sidewinder?
The Sidewinder kind of thing, or is that where when we had the new course and they around some of the greens and around some of the sand traps where the contour is difficult to get to, is this going to assist us in that mowing?
No, this particular mower is a larger size of that one. It's like the big brother of it. It's the smaller version that has the sliding decks. They're called the Sidewinder. This one, though, does have a fixed solid rear roller. So some of those edges that a Sidewinder that we were looking at then can still perform those tasks. So that's going to improve our efficiency around some of these areas, the greens, tees, some of the bunkers that we were having issues that we were discussing purchasing that mower for. This one will also be capable of doing that.
Okay, so I think everybody understands what the situation is. We have a motion for recommending approval on this. Moved by Roby. You don't get to vote. Second by Vilhauer. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the authorization for the Parks and Rec Department to enter into an agreement with Johnson Controls through National Joint Powers Alliance, NJPA, for the Fieldhouse Boiler Project. And Jay. Oh, Terry.
Okay. There you go. What this is there any clarification needed on NJPA amongst the council?
Explain that to us.
Okay. NJPA is, I won't call it fairly new, but it's new to the Midwest. It's National Joint Powers Alliance. It's actually a government entity, which easiest way to explain it would be no different than a state bid. We can purchase off Minnesota, we can purchase off South Dakota state bid. What NJPA is, correct me anytime, Matt, I can feel the eyes just burning inside. What it is, it's considered a government agency that's already went through all the work to go product by product, service by service, company by company to approve as an authorized provider of certain products and services. The city of Watertown has joined NJPA approximately 3 years ago, which allows us to work with any vendor that NJPA has approved. The difference is they don't specify an actual product. An example, Johnson Controls is approved through an RFP process, a very strenuous process they go through to verify they're a worthy company for government entities to enter into agreements for. In no way are we locked into any pricing. We still negotiate pricing. We get other prices from other vendors. If we feel it's a fair price, a good price, we can basically skip the governmental bidding process. The notice, the advertisement for bids, that type of thing, and it gives us, just like a state bid, that they're pre-approved, which Johnson Controls is. Typically, our department would always want to go to bid. We want as competitive pricing as we can get. In this situation, Johnson Controls, I got pricing for preliminary budget concerns to find out a number. Their price is very competitive, and the reason we want to pursue Johnson is the Armory, or the field house, has been a Johnson Controls service building since day one. And what we are doing is a retrofit of our boiler. We're not doing a complete replacement of steam pipes, water pipes, compressor, air units. We are just simply replacing the boiler. And the expertise and the service that we've got from Johnson Controls, we would like to enter into an agreement to provide that boiler. So Mr. Roby, Kristen, myself, I can't remember if the mayor was in. We had a discussion on NJPA. We made the calls to the state of South Dakota to make Mr. Roby feel comfortable that this was not a sales pitch, but it's legitimate, able for procurement.
Councilman Roby?
He referring to the other Roby on that. Question is, that's a buyer's group is what it is. Did the council pass something that gave us the authority to buy through that, or was there something run through the council on that? Do we need to?
I know Jay has a did you bring a certificate?
Yeah, we do.
You know, we've got the authorization, and I do not recall. I mean, truthfully, I do not recall this ever coming forth for authority. Obviously, we had to do an application process. I don't know if it was done internally.
To the board.
This is actually a city of Watertown, not a Park and Rec, is licensed.
I remember this discussion from a few years ago. I don't know if it was at the council, if they gave approval, but I do remember the discussion.
And I like the buyers group idea. I like it. The question is this going against ordinance if we buy off this, or do we have it officially or formally approved?
Well, we are a member as of 2013, I believe. So we're a member of the Joint Powers Alliance, and it's specifically allowed in state law, not ordinance, but it's specifically allowed in state law to have this as an alternative to the typical bid process.
So you're good with it?
Right.
Thank you.
Councilman Bill Howard?
Does belonging to this cost us anything on an annual basis, or is there any fee associated?
I do not, I've never seen any
I
type of
don't think so.
invoicing coming out. I think it's to their benefit to have the more members they can get.
Other questions or comments? Okay. So is there a motion and second to authorize the Park and Rec to enter the agreement? Moved by Bill Hauer. Is there a second? Second by Thorson. Discussion. See no discussion, I'll ask for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
The next item is authorization for the Parks and Rec Department to enter into an agreement with Toro through the National Joint Powers Alliance, NJPA, for a park system mower and a golf course mower. Terry.
Okay, and I will reiterate from last conversation is our preference is to bid. And I want to make it clear we're not trying to circumvent any type of vendor. We just know these particular mowers, only one meets specifications, has for the last 3 years. Therefore, with Toro being an approved vendor through NJPA and their pricing was dead on with what we paid previous, we'd like to just move ahead with the purchase off the NJPA contract.
All right, is there a motion and second? Moved by Thorson. Second by Roby. Discussion?
I understand you want to bid. That was what my preference would be. If we did bid this out, though, who do you bid it out to if they're the only guy that makes it?
We would still send bids to the three main manufacturers of commercial athletic equipment, which would be John Deere, Jacobson, and Toro, knowing that there's two specific things that we need for operation that both John Deere and Jacobson do not have.
And you're comfortable with the price we get?
Very.
Okay.
I mean, we did get price quotes from the other one, and Toro on one of them was actually the low price anyway. On the particular one you've seen prior, no one else can give us a price because they don't offer the 7 independent flexible decks with the reverse cooling fans and the independent one single motor for hydraulic operation.
Any other questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any old business? Any new business? No need for executive session, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Solom, second by Thorson. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? We are adjourned.